Hi, my name's Amy Jo, and this is my journey to purpose. As long as I can remember, I loved music. My heart is music. Always sang since I was, 3-4 years old. Music drove everything that I did. And when I was a teenager, I started to write songs. Music is what I thought I was going to do with my life. But when I was 18, I met this guy, and it was a pivotal moment. This guy was a producer and I was a singer. He promised to make all my dreams come true, and I was so naive and I fell for everything that he said. It started with intimacy, and then I began smoking marijuana with him. Went along with it because I thought that that's what I had to do. And that lasted up until we got married, because we had a child together. It was physically, it was verbally, it was emotionally, anything you can think of. I was abused in every way by him. From then on, everything was scary. My life was filled with fear. Basically, life to me just became about survival. How do I survive another day? Every night, he would use drugs to manipulate me and to get me to do what he wanted. I was becoming addicted to these drugs, and I got addicted very quickly. By the time I had my second child, my family had intervened and they had taken my children into their home. All of this abuse was going on. I felt hopeless, and I really didn't want to live anymore. He had me on the floor, choking me. And what ran through my mind was, you know what? I don't even care if he kills me, because this life is not worth living. I don't want this. I decided to leave, and that was that. I just said, I'm done. I'm done. He called me a name for the last time. He's hit me for the last time. I've been through this abuse for the last time. I didn't care about where I was going to get my drugs anymore. I just needed to go. At that point, my parents were aware. They sent me to rehab, but I couldn't get it right. My addiction had become a beast, and it was more than I could handle. When I didn't have drugs, I was in physical pain, I was in mental pain. I covered the pain up with more drugs. So it just got worse and worse and worse. One day, even on drugs, I had to use every single over-the-counter medication to be able to crawl on the floor to go to the bathroom. I was dealing with this for a long time, but I was pushing through it because I knew it was from my drug use, but I didn't want anyone to know. My dad said, that's it, that's enough, I'm taking you to the hospital. And by the time I got to the hospital, they said that I was critical. I ended up with endocarditis, which is an infection, bacterial infection in your heart. And it's very, very dangerous, and it's very critical. Most people don't make it out of that. Staff at the hospital called my family, and they told them, you need to come see her because she's not gonna make it. I just remember praying, and I hadn't prayed in a long time. Lord, if you save my life, please let it be for my children, and so that I can have a real relationship with you. And then the next thing I know, I'm in this stone garden, and there's a very large, very tall clock tower. I looked up at this clock tower, and I saw the time go back from 12 to 11, and that to me was God's grace. That was Him taking the time back. I knew that God still had purpose for my life. And even that was not enough for me to stop using IV drugs. And that's because I didn't know how to stop. Drugs was all I knew. Covering up my pain was all I knew. It got to the point where I didn't have money to buy the drugs that I felt I needed anymore. And so I started shoplifting. I got arrested, and I was sent to Lancaster County Prison. I had grown up in church, and I knew enough about God to know that He was with me. As soon as I started coming off the drugs, I could feel God's presence. I would lay there day, night, I don't even know what time it was, and rock back and forth and say, by your stripes I am healed. By your stripes I am healed. And I believed it. For the first time in my life, that really sunk in. And I knew that Jesus was the reason that I was still alive, and that Jesus was going to be my Savior. He was going to redeem me. As I came out of the detox and started to feel better, I decided to get a radio. It was my lifeline. I was listening to a Christian radio station 24/7 when I wasn't showering or eating, and I stumbled across the Victory Church broadcast, and I heard Pastor Curt speaking, and that changed my life. My life verse has always been Romans 10:17, and so faith comes from hearing, and hearing by the word of Christ. And that gave me a way to hear Christ and to hear His love for me and to soak it in. I knew that when I got out of prison, that is the first place that I wanted to go. When you're in prison and you're detoxing, they have a lot of nurses coming in to take your vitals. I want to say I fell in love with this man who would come and take my vitals. I just watched the way that he interacted with other prisoners, and I saw his heart. Here we were, convicts, and some of the worst of the worst prisoners, and this man really cared for us, for everybody. The heart of this man was different than any other man I had met in my entire life, that I could tell was so genuine that I was attracted to it immediately. And I started praying about it, and I said, Lord, I don't want anything that you don't want. I found out that his name was Manny. His real name was Emmanuel, but everybody called him Manny. And that's all that I know about him. There was always a corrections officer standing there when he was taking my vitals, so we couldn't have personal conversation at all. But somehow when he was taking my blood pressure, we connected, and I started doing this just to let him know how I felt and that I cared about him, because that's the only thing that I could do. So when he started doing that back, then I knew what was going on. I got out of prison, and the first thing that I did was go to Victory Church that Sunday. I filled out one of those connection cards, and I really, really wanted the pastor to know how I got there and how important that his messages were to me and how it had saved my life. One day I went to Subway, and Manny walked in, and we connected, and we started dating. Manny was not in the same place that I was spiritually, but I saw God in him. I was just an encouragement the whole time, and I told him, you need to come to Victory Church. It's going to change your life. He agreed to coming to Victory Church. When we stood in the back of the church and we wept together because the presence of God was so real there. He got saved, we got baptized together. We decided to go to Lancaster Bible College to obtain an associate's degree in ministry and to start doing this thing together. 2 months after I had connected with him and we started dating, he asked me to marry him. And 6 months later, we got married by Pastor Curt at Victory Church. No matter how far you wander, no matter how many mistakes you make, no matter how mad you get at God, no matter how much you blame Him, no matter how much you run from Him, He will pursue you. There is nothing you can do to make God give up on you. I have found complete healing, and that my heart is so full because I still can sing for the Lord. It's a feeling like no other. It truly is what I want to do with my life, just to sing to the Lord. He has done so many things for me. I cannot even begin to count. And His goodness just cannot be explained. So now, the very same worship songs that I would listen to from Victory Church. Now I get to sing those songs on the stage, and it is such a privilege and such an honor to be able to serve the Lord in this amazing church. My name is Amy Jo, and this is my journey to purpose.